These are citizens of Americans' island territories, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Northern Marianas.
I used to think US territory just meant state, but more beach. Like same deal plus palm trees. Wrong. It's more like living in a parallel version of America where the government labels are familiar, but the rights and programs can hit different. Some places have local governors and a whole three-branch setup, but you still get non-voting reps in Congress. And once you start looking at stuff like which federal programs apply and which don't, you realize why some residents say it feels like a weird third-class setup. So yeah, cheap living exists, but it comes with baggage. Before we continue, hit subscribe so you never miss the latest updates. Number 1, Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico will hit you with rent prices that make Miami look like it's doing stand-up comedy. You'll see listings and start doing that dangerous thing where you count your money twice and think, wait, am I about to win? And then boom, the lights flick off like it's part of the culture, like the grid has a punch card. Because the fantasy is strong, Old San Juan is straight up walkable, colorful, loud in a good way, and you can go from cobblestone streets to beach mode in one outfit change. San Juan's got the city stuff too. Gyms, coffee spots, malls. So you're not out here pretending a gas station is the local hub. And yes, you'll hear the tax break talk. People say it like it's a cheat code, like you just move and the universe hands you a coupon book. But here's what nobody tells you. Your biggest bill might be the survival shopping spree you do after your first real outage. Generator, battery bank, fans, water jugs, a power strip that becomes your best friend. I call it the emotional support extension cord because once you own one, you start packing it like it's your passport. And that's the almost free trick. Day-to-day can feel lighter in a lot of places. Food spots, basic rent, little stuff. But then the surprise costs land in lumps like a boss fight. Car repairs because roads and heat don't care about your suspension. Insurance because storms exist and insurers have eyes. And after a rough weather week, you're suddenly pricing solar like it's a new iPhone upgrade you didn't plan for. Also governance twist. It's a US territory. You've got local elections, local rules, real government, but no voting power in Congress. Let that sink in. And some federal program stuff doesn't line up the way mainland brains expect, so you can't just assume it works the same. Picture you working remote. Ocean nearby, cute little cafe. You're mid-sentence on Zoom and your screen freezes on the worst face you've ever made, and you're sweating through a business casual tank top. So here's the thing. Puerto Rico works if you plan like a prepper, budget for backup power, pick areas with stronger infrastructure, and treat reliable Wi-Fi like a luxury amenity. Puerto Rico isn't cheap paradise, it's paradise with a maintenance fee. Number 2, Guam. And if Puerto Rico felt like cheap, with a battery pack, Guam is cute, until you check out at the store. Guam looks like Hawaii's cousin, who doesn't post flex pics, right up until your grocery receipt hits and you're like, why did I just finance a bag of grapes? The setup is legit though. Warm water, palm trees, and a lot of your US phone stuff often works, so you land and your brain relaxes. Then you start spotting the familiar stuff. Strip malls, fast food, big logos you've seen 1,000 times. It feels like America got copy-pasted into the Pacific and hit print. But here's the catch, boats. Planes too, but mostly boats. Almost everything you touch got shipped in from somewhere far away. Food, cars, parts, tools, building stuff, even dumb little things like light bulbs you only think about when one dies at 9 p.m. So the whole I'll just live simple plan gets clowned, because simple still has import markup. And then you've got the island beating up your stuff. Storms roll through, salt air chews on metal, heat bakes everything like your car is an air fryer. Roads take hits, power gear takes hits. And when something breaks, it's not like a truck shows up tomorrow with a warehouse of parts. Sometimes you're waiting because the fix is literally on a boat. Picture this. You're trying to be low cost. You buy less, you cook at home, you stop impulse shopping. Cool, but your basics still cost more. And the cheap choices can feel like you're just picking which bill hurts least this week. Civic twist 2. The local government vibe can feel state-like day to day, but the political power and some federal program rules don't match what your mainland brain expects. Let that sink in. So here's the thing. Guam only feels almost free if you lock in a solid job, live close to work and stores, and stop trying to recreate mainland shopping habits. It's not broke, it's just far. And far is expensive. Number 3, US Virgin Islands. USVI is the kind of place where your ocean view is completely unhinged. And then you're standing there like, wait, why is my water coming from a truck like I'm ordering delivery for my shower? You think you're moving to paradise and you end up learning new words like cistern real fast. Because the setup is powerful. The water is that clear, punch you in the face blue. Tourism money is everywhere, so there are jobs, busy seasons, and this constant quit your job energy the second you land. You can be in sandals at noon, catch a sunset that looks fake at 6, and for a second you're like, yeah, I figured life out. But here's the catch. Utilities can be wildly pricey, and the reliability can feel like a suggestion, especially when the weather decides to do island weather things. You're not just paying for power and water, you're paying for the privilege of hoping it shows up on time. And when it doesn't, you start making weird little plans like you're running a small restaurant out of your house. Here's the thing with the almost free myth. Yes, you can find deals. Yes, you can live small. But the baseline costs don't play fair on islands. Power, water, food. The floor is higher than you think, and it doesn't care that you found a cute rental with a palm tree in the listing photos. Picture this. You're trying to be a beach person, but your day is built around when the internet feels stable and when you can run laundry without it turning into a whole event. You're watching your router like it's a newborn. You're timing showers. You're doing that thing where you save the big downloads for the hours you think the connection will behave. Legal reality check. Residents are U.S. citizens, but it's still territory life. So some rules and some federal program access can work different than the mainland version you're used to. Let that sink in. So if you treat it like a simple life, not a luxury life, small place, light AC, local food, you can make it work without bleeding out cash. USVI is paradise, but it's not a free trial. Number 4, American Samoa. American Samoa might be the closest thing to living cheaper in paradise that people whisper about online, and then the paperwork shows up and your brain starts scratching. The beach life is real. The wait, what am I, legally out part is also real. The setup is small and tight. Slower days, fewer tourist traps, more of that everybody knows everybody vibe where you can't anonymously be a mess. People talk about it like it's safer and more grounded than the party islands, and you feel that in the way communities move. It's not built around entertaining strangers. It's built around locals living life. But here's what nobody tells you. If you're born there, you're usually a U.S. national, not automatically a U.S. citizen. Let that sink in. That's one of those sentences that sounds fake until you look it up and realize, nope, that's the deal. So what does that mean in normal person terms? Voting gets weird. Certain federal jobs and some roles that want U.S. citizen on the form can be blocked off unless you go through a citizenship process. Even basic stuff like how you explain yourself on applications can turn into a whole side quest. You're connected to the U.S., but not in the clean, plug-and-play way most people assume. And the remote location hits you in the face fast. Specialized healthcare? You're not just booking an appointment, you're thinking about flights. Big box shopping? Not really a thing. When something breaks, you don't just swing by a store and fix it in an hour. You wait. Parts, staff, shipping, weather, everything gets a vote. Here's the lifestyle catch. It can be affordable if you live local, but it's not designed for the remote worker with a suitcase and a dream crowd. Your Amazon addiction will suffer. Your need for 24/7 convenience will suffer more, and so it's almost free only if you respect how life works there. Community expectations, family land systems, and a pace that doesn't care about your calendar invites. You're not ready for what's next. This one isn't about money. It's about identity and access. Number 5, Northern Mariana Islands. CNMI is the plot twist territory where one big federal benefit works different. But you're still living on an island where the word quick is basically a joke. People hear U.S. territory and think the safety net works the same everywhere. You're not ready for what's next, because on paper, the vibe is kind of perfect. Quiet beaches, less chaos, and the sort of place where you can vanish from mainland noise without moving into a shed in the woods. You get days that feel simple on purpose, like wake up, eat, work, swim, repeat. But here's the catch. Daily life can be cheaper in some ways, and then you hit the hard ceiling. The job pool is smaller, the specialist list is shorter, and there's no magic backup option where you just drive to a big store and fix your problem with one cart and a hot dog on the way out. Here's the weird research-backed surprise people miss. CNMI has had different treatment on some federal programs than other U.S. territories, including being an exception on SSI eligibility, while places like Puerto Rico, Guam, and the U.S. Virgin Islands historically weren't. Let that sink in. That one detail changes the math for some folks, and it's why you'll hear people talk about CNM. I like it has a hidden setting turned on. Now make it real. If you need steady medical care or a specific med you can't skip, you're not making an appointment. You're planning flights. You're timing refills like you're running a supply chain. And if your plan relies on overnight shipping, good luck. Then there's the infrastructure apocalypse vibe. Storms plus distance means repairs and parts can lag. You feel it when the power blinks, the internet crawls, and a normal pothole turns into a whole personality. CNMI works if your needs are simple and predictable. Housing, basics, and a calm routine you can repeat without constant mainland support. If your life depends on convenience, CNMI will humble you fast. Number 6, St. Croix. So St. Croix feels like the real-life version of island living. It's not all cruise ship sparkle and matching outfits. It's more like you actually live here until you need something done by Friday. The setup is why people fall for it. You get more space, more locals, less of that constant tourist churn where every meal costs like a concert ticket. And yeah, you can sometimes find rent that doesn't demand a kidney, a cosigner, and your firstborn. But here's what nobody tells you. The system is small. Fewer services, fewer contractors, fewer backups. When your fridge dies, it's not, I'll get a new one tomorrow. It's okay, how long can I live out of a cooler? Because the fix is on island time, and island time has no shame. Day to day, you turn into a low-key prepper without meaning to. You keep extra water because you learned that lesson once. You keep spare parts because the hardware store doesn't always have the one weird connector your sink needs. And you develop this calm, dead-eyed patience where you're like, cool, we wait. Let that sink in. Now stack the infrastructure stuff. Roads can be rough, power can blink, water can be a whole thing. And add heat plus humidity, and suddenly every errand feels like a side quest. You're trying to do 3 stops and your shirt is soaked by stop 1. Don't even get me started on the drivers. Half the cars move like they're in a parade, and the other half act like they're late to defuse a bomb. Money-wise, the cheap rent can get eaten alive. Shipping costs show up in sneaky ways. Utilities can hit harder than you expect. And your car takes a beating, because potholes and salty air are basically a tag team. Here's the thing. The win on St. Croix is space and calm. If you're okay being your own handyman, and you don't need instant everything. Would you live somewhere gorgeous if quick fix meant maybe next week? Drop a yes or nope in the comments. Number 7, St. Thomas. So St. Thomas will absolutely catfish you with that easy island living vibe. You land, you see the water, you see the hills, you hear music coming out of some open-air bar, and your brain goes, I could do this forever. Then you realize you're paying tourist island prices every single day. Like you accidentally signed up for the vacation package that never ends. The setup is stacked, I'll give it that. More places to eat, more bars, more little nightlife pockets, and more jobs that exist. Because visitors keep showing up with sunscreen and bad decisions. And it's social. You can meet people fast because everybody's either in hospitality, on a boat, or standing in line for something, so you end up talking. But here's the catch. Tourism warps everything. Rent jumps when the demand spikes, and it never really comes back down to normal, because normal is not the business model here. Traffic gets weird because the roads are small and the island is basically doing Tetris with cars. Don't even get me started on the drivers. Some are in full vacation brain, drifting across lanes like they're sightseeing, and others drive like they're late for a flight they already missed. And the island systems feel it. High demand on a small grid and small roads means outages and bottlenecks hit harder, faster. A minor issue turns into a whole neighborhood doing that "did your lights flicker too?" group chat. And if you're remote working, you start treating your battery pack like it's part of your work uniform. Let that sink in. Picture this. You try to do a basic grocery run. Not a big one, just I need eggs and soap. You pull in and it becomes a sweaty parking lot chess match with rental cars, delivery vans, and somebody who stopped dead because they saw a chicken. You're not ready for what's next. You get inside and you start doing math like you're back in school. Here's the thing, you can live cheap if you live like a local. But St. Thomas keeps trying to sell you the expensive version of itself. So you pick a simple routine. Live near work, limit AC, ignore tourist traps, and treat convenience like a paid feature. St. Thomas isn't cheap. It's just gorgeous while it drains you. Number 8, St. John. So St. John is so pretty it feels fake, like somebody cranked the saturation slider and forgot to turn it back down. And a big reason it stays that way is because a lot of the island is protected land, which sounds amazing until you realize it also means you don't get endless new housing and endless new stuff built for you. The setup is straight national park energy. Quiet beaches, trails, views that make you stop mid-sentence because your brain is buffering. You wake up and you're like, oh cool, I accidentally moved into a postcard. But here's the catch. Small island, limited housing, limited services, and you end up doing logistics all day like you're planning a tiny military operation with sunscreen. You don't just swing by places, you route it, you time it, you pack it. Let that sink in. That's what it looks like in real life. Fewer rental options, higher prices, and a lot more dependence on ferries and schedules for basics. Your calendar starts running your life. Miss the timing and you're not a little late, you're basically rescheduling your whole day. And when the weather kicks up, your plans don't just change. They cancel. The island doesn't care that you had a dentist thing or a work call or a "I'll just grab groceries quick" plan. Boats get delayed. Stuff gets pushed. You're sitting there refreshing updates like it's a sneaker drop. Picture this. You wake up and realize you're out of toothpaste. Simple, right? Wrong. Now it's check what's open, check the ferry, see if the one store has what you need, and decide if you're burning half a day for mint gel. You'll brush with whatever's left and pretend it's fine. Here's the thing. St. John works if you want quiet and you can plan ahead. You do bulk runs, you keep backup supplies. You need a job that doesn't freak out when a quick errand turns into a whole saga. St. John is for planners, not impulse people, and if you're impulsive, the island will train it out of you fast. Number 9, Saipan. Saipan is the most normal island in CNM, which is like saying it's the most functional camping trip. You've got pavement, shops, a real town feel, and you can get into a routine without feeling like you're living inside a logistics TikTok. It has the most services, the most housing choices, and a community rhythm that's actually repeatable. You can find a place, pick your go-to food spots, figure out your gym or your beach, and suddenly you're not in constant survival mode. It feels familiar faster than you expect, like your brain can finally unclench. But here's the catch. Main island doesn't mean mainland. Stuff still comes in when it comes in. If you need a specialist doctor, you might be waiting, or you're booking a flight. If your car needs a weird part, you're not getting it tomorrow. You're tracking it like a package that owes you money. Big repairs don't just cost more, they take longer, and time is a bill too. Let that sink in. Infrastructure is the same story. Power and internet can be totally fine, until weather or old gear says nope, and then you're back to hotspot survival, rationing data like it's bottled water. Picture you trying to send a file, your upload stalls at 99%, and you start bargaining with the universe like, "Please, I will never complain again." Now the lure. Rent can look friendly compared to big US cities, and if you live small, basic place, normal AC use, not chasing the luxury condo fantasy, you can keep your costs from getting stupid. The cheap part is real if you don't turn it into a shopping contest. Trade-offs are baked in. Fewer entertainment picks, fewer career lanes, and you're gonna repeat the same spots. Same beach, same cafe, same Friday night plan. Don't even get me started on the drivers. Half are chill to the point of parked, the other half act like lanes are a suggestion. So here's the thing, Saipan is the best CNMI pick if you want cheapish without going full remote. Just don't expect instant fixes or endless choice. It's not boring, it's limited. Big difference. Number 10, Tinian. Tinian is where the prices whisper, you could start over, and the island whispers back, with what hospital? You'll see housing numbers that look almost suspicious, like somebody forgot a zero. And for a second, your brain starts building a whole new life, because the setup is simple and kind of awesome. Smaller, quieter, more space, less noise. You're not dodging crowds, you're dodging nothing. It's the kind of place where you hear your own thoughts again, which sounds cute until day 3. But here's the catch, tiny means tiny services. Limited shopping, limited work, limited medical, limited everything. If you're used to solving problems by throwing money at them, Tinian will humble you fast because money can't buy what isn't there. And day to day, you don't run out for stuff. That phrase stops making sense. You either already have it, or you're waiting for it, or you're improvising like you're on a reality show. Picture this. You need one basic thing, like a phone charger or cold medicine, and suddenly you're doing the island version of detective work. Who has one? Can you borrow it? Is there a delivery coming? Or are you just raw dogging life for a week and now add the infrastructure apocalypse layer? One bad storm, one supply hiccup, one piece of equipment deciding to quit, and the whole island feels it, fast. Power weirdness isn't just annoying, it changes your whole day. Internet acting up isn't, ugh, it's cool, my job is now vibes. Let that sink in. And emotionally, this is the lifestyle test. If you get lonely easy, or you need constant new places, new faces, new snacks, this place will mess with your head. The quiet can feel like peace, or it can feel like you're living inside a paused screen. Here's the thing, Tinian is a win for the right person. Someone who wants quiet, can handle low convenience, keeps backups, and treats the island like a long game. If your dream is free, the price is isolation, and it collects rent every day. Number 11, Rota. So Rota is the kind of gorgeous that makes you think you found a cheat code. Calm water, green hills, Not a ton of shiny new stuff everywhere. And then you live there for a minute and realize the real lesson is what you actually can't live without. Because the setup is super low-key. Less build-out, more nature, slower days, and a small circle vibe where somebody will ask how your cough is doing before you've even told your friends back home you're sick. It's chill, but it's also visible. Like, you don't blend in on Rota. You exist, and the island clocks it by lunch. But here's the catch, and it's brutal. Limited flights, limited supplies, and fewer services than you'd expect for something that's technically part of the US. Your quick fix turns into a travel plan. Need a certain tool, a certain part, a certain kind of medical visit, or even just a store that carries the exact thing you're used to. You're not popping out for that. You're scheduling your life around when you can get off island and when the weather agrees. Remote work sounds cute until it's not. Picture this. You've got a deadline, your connection gets weird, and your backup plan is what exactly? A hotspot that might work until it doesn't? Then you realize your backup plan needs its own backup plan. Extra data, extra battery, extra patience. Let that sink in. And the infrastructure part is real. Smaller grid, fewer techs, fewer spare parts sitting around. So when power drops or something breaks, repairs can take longer. And you feel it in basic comfort. Cold food, hot rooms, dead routers. And that one fan you own becomes the MVP of your entire household. Now the emotional reality. Some people thrive in quiet. They sleep better, spend less, stop doom scrolling. Other people spiral by week 3 and start arguing with the walls because they miss noise and choices. Rota can be almost free if you're self-sufficient. Simple housing, simple food, simple needs, and you actually like small circle life. If you need convenience to feel safe, Rota is not your girl. Number 12. Vieques. Vieques gets marketed like it's Puerto Rico, but quieter and cheaper. And then the ferry becomes your main character. Like, not a side character, not sometimes annoying. The ferry is the boss fight that decides if you're eating good this week or living on crackers and vibes. On paper, the setup is nasty in the best way. Wild beaches that look untouched, a chill little town feel, and days that move slow on purpose. You can rent something modest, skip a bunch of big city spending, and suddenly your money stretches. You start thinking you found the loophole, but here's what nobody tells you. Access is the whole game. If transport gets delayed or canceled, your work plan, your grocery plan, your appointment plan, all of it gets punted into the ocean. You can be the most organized person on Earth and still get humbled by a schedule you don't control. Let that sink in. And because it's an island off an island, you get double logistics pain. Shipping takes longer, fixes take longer, staffing is thinner. If a store runs out of something normal, it's not restock tomorrow. It's whenever it shows up. If a repair needs a part, it might as well be on a quest. Even basic stuff like keeping a routine gets harder when the whole system has one skinny pipeline. Make it visual. You've got a full cart planned in your head. Eggs, rice, soap, cat food, whatever. You're feeling responsible. Then you're staring at the ferry schedule like it's a stock chart, refreshing it, trying to read the vibes, doing mental math on how many days of food you can stretch if today doesn't happen. And legally, you're still in Puerto Rico. Same general umbrella. But lived experience is totally different when boats and small local systems decide your options. You can't just pop over for anything without building your whole day around it. So here's the thing. Vieques is affordable if you're flexible and stocked. Buy in bulk, build time buffers, and don't build a life that collapses from one canceled boat. It's not the mainland. It's not even the main island. That's the point. So here's the punchline. Almost free usually means you pay less in one column and way more in another. Power backups, shipping, time, access. The rent looks cute, then you're buying a generator like it's a used Honda and storing water like you're prepping for aliens. Would you pick $0 bills with sketchy Wi-Fi? Or stable roads and boring suburbs? Comment Team Beach Chaos or Team Functional Grid. Because if you move to any of these, your real budget isn't money. It's patience, and it will get tested daily. That's it for today. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more updates you won't want to miss.